Good evening. I'm Dallas Perkins. For those of you who don't know me, not many, I guess, but maybe a few. And I could. Well, there are a few names and faces here I don't recognize. Jane and Al asked me to talk for a few short minutes tonight about Ross's contribution to academic debate in America. And unlike the previous speakers, I'm going to try to cover and keep it to a few short minutes. When I first met Ross in 1975 or so, when he was a freshman here at Wake Forest, debate was a very different game. The time limits were different, the rules were different, the judge assignments were basically random. You confronted most of your opposition from a position of substantial ignorance. The total package of the experience of going to a debate tournament was quite profoundly different from what it is now, and a major force, a major reason for the progress that the activity has made in the past 25 or 30 years was and is Ross Smith. And I'd like to talk about a little bit of that history tonight. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about are old and happened way before a lot of the students in this audience were part of the game, and I think it's important to go through this history a little to let everybody know what a profound effect Ross had on this game that we played. The fact that we are all here tonight in this one room is, in a very large sense, the result of one person, Ross Smith. In the late 70s, academic debate in America had experienced a great schism. The Cross-Examination Debate Association and the National Debate Tournament both sponsored national championship tournaments. They debated different topics. They had substantially different cultures, and we never debated against each other. So the third weekend in November, there was a great big tournament here at Wake Forest, and there was another huge tournament somewhere in the Missouri Valley that included all the seeded teams. And while the argumentative cultures that started those two different organizations and two different kinds of debates had been profound at the beginning, by the time that Ross got involved in this, the cultures had become very similar. We were debating the same way, talking about the same stuff. We were just having our debates on different topics. And as with many of Ross's innovations, it started with incisive analysis. He was the first person to really realize that we transcended our cultural differences and that all that really separated us was the topics. And the topics were a formidable thing because both CETA and the NDT had elaborate bureaucracies that were focused on picking those topics. But Ross cut through that Gordian knot by proposing that the National Debate Tournament just debate CETA's first semester topic. And suddenly, we started doing that. 1 year later, CETA quit doing two topics a year, and within 12 months, the two organizations were doing pretty much the same thing, and our two cultures assimilated with each other and joined, and soon thereafter, there was only one national debate circuit, and we were all debating together. And teams like Michigan State and Gonzaga and Whitman, who are powerful members of our community, wouldn't be here tonight if it hadn't been for Ross Kennedy Smith, who engineered the merger of our two activities, or our one activity, into one community. And that was, I think, one of the most important contributions that he made to this activity, and one that has had profound effects ever since. Merger was something that Ross did by involving himself in the governance of the National Debate Tournament. Most of the innovations that he led and pioneered were not of that nature. Ross primarily was an innovator because he guided with the force of his intellect and his personality this debate tournament. It was known as the Dixie Classic, then it was the Franklin Shirley Classic when Dixie was no longer politically correct. I attended this tournament for the first time in 1968 as a freshman, and I managed to make the semifinals, as the presence of a couple of freshmen from Georgetown in the semifinals would indicate it wasn't a major national tournament at the time. It was a place where people sent their younger teams to try to get better. And the transition in this tournament from that start to its preeminent role as the best and most amazingly innovative and prestigious invitational tournament in the nation today is, I think, mostly due to Ross. Now, I say mostly guardedly because the contributions that were made to the innovations that happened at this tournament were not only Ross. There are people here among our community tonight who had a big part in it. Mike Hazen was certainly very big. J.P. Lacey, a huge influence. Obviously, Al Loudon, Mike Hazen, all those people were big parts of the innovations that happened at this tournament.